the first episode of another series that we've done.
Yeah, over the past year or so, we've been working closely with our friends at the Fundy Biosphere region because Jen and I both find it very important for people to have pride of place, as do they. And there are 50 absolutely incredible places that are part of the Fundy Biosphere region and part of UNESCO right here in your own backyard.
So we were lucky enough to explore a whole bunch of them. There's an entire series. You can go and listen and watch about that. Today, you get a little sneak peek to tease you into it. We are here at Irishtown Nature Park for today's walk with Heather Fraser. Heather, tell us a little bit about where we're going today.
Sure. So we're going to start with the map because it's always good when you visit a park, maybe for the first time or maybe for many times if you've been here, to know where it is you're going. So the beauty of Irishtown Nature Park, if you look at the size of the park itself, it's 2,200 acres in size. Wow. So it's 10 times bigger than Centennial and Mapleton Park.
Oh, wow.
Holy.
So if we look at the water body itself, the water body is about 250 acres. So that is about the same size as Centennial Park. So we have a lot of forest land that is involved in this park. We're really only in about 350 acres right now with trails and so on that give people the opportunity to explore. So there is lots of room to expand and have longer trails that are back in the forest in the upper parts and even around the entire reservoir itself. So this park is a large park. It's Moncton's only considered nature park. So lots to explore here, lots of habitats and things that we'll look at today when we go into the spillway.
Okay, excellent. And as we walk today, you're going to tell us more. I see old reservoirs on the sign here. Is that the road that we're about to take?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we're going to go in. So this road here that we're going to be on will actually be leading us to where the caretaker's house was originally. So when we get in there, you will see that this actually was the city of Moncton's first drinking water supply. Back in the 1800s, when they turned the water on for the very first time, the water came from Irishtown Reservoir back then. So this park has a lot of history, and it's been with the city for the early 1800s. So it's their oldest reservoir, and now a nature park.
Interesting. All right, well, let's go see.
Okay, perfect.
Now, working with the town, or the city, I should say, for quite some time, do you have any, off the top of your head, statistics of how many people might actually use this park every day, or roughly?
Well, if we look at the parking lot, you know, on a good sunny day, that's why they actually had to build the upper parking lot, because the lower parking lot will hold about 100 cars. And so they had to build the upper parking lot because people were starting to park out on the road. And if you know Elmwood Drive,
Oh my goodness.
it's very, very busy. Mm-hmm. So they put the second parking lot in. So, and I know we did flyers one year for an event that we were holding here, and we put 225 flyers on people's cars.
Wow.
So it does have the capacity to hold that many if people park, you know, in a good way.
In a good way.
In a good way. Yeah, yeah. So this is kind of a cool area coming in. This is like actually the same road that would have been here a long, long time ago. Of course, it's been upgraded. But if you look at the forest looks different from one side of the road to the other. Mm-hmm. And the reason it does is because we've done a little bit of forest management here way back when. I worked for the city for 30 years, and this was done with horses. So there was a selection harvest that took place because we had a lot of spruce budworm damage in the park back in the early 90s. So we went in with horses and removed the spruce budworm species that were dead and dying and opened up the forest some. And you can see that you have your pioneer species of spruce and pine. And look at all the regen from all the different species that we have in the Acadian forest. So that's the beauty of this park, is we really were trying to promote education and really try to manage the forest for long-term forest health so that the forest could be here for years to come.
Our travels have brought us now to Boar Park in the city of Moncton. We're right downtown, and as you can see, we're right on the Chocolate River, if you will. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but first I'd like to introduce to you, Jen, what is your title with the Fundy Biosphere region anyway? It's everything, isn't it?
I suppose. I'm the executive director of the Fundy Biosphere region. Yeah.
Perfect. And then we also have with us Laurence. Laurence is here with the Sentinel Petitcodiac River Keepers. Welcome.
Hi.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the river. Do you want to start with why the river is chocolate?
We sure could. Yeah, we can. So, Laurence, why don't you tell us about the tidal bore and how the river is mixed every day?
So the tidal bore comes in twice a day, and so the water flows one way. When the tidal bore comes in, it goes the other way. So that's what's special about this river. And yeah, so there's a tidal bore coming in once, and they have like a scale, so it goes from 1 to 4. So 1 is like a small wave, and 4 is like a big wave. But we usually get like maybe like 1, 2, maybe 3 around the full moons, because the tidal depends on the moons, cycle of the moons, and the seasons and weather. So yeah.
Yeah, so right here, we're not on the coast, we're a little bit farther inland, but we can actually see the tides coming in every day. So it's pretty cool to see the tidal bore. And it's significant because the tidal bore used to be quite small. When the causeway was in and the gates were closed, there wasn't a lot of change in the direction of the river. But in 2010, they opened the gates, the bore became bigger. And then more recently, when the new bridge was put in and the causeway was taken out completely, the river has really returned to its state of health. And then that's why we see these large changes in the tidal bore. But of course, it's always based on the tide cycle and what is coming up from the Bay of Fundy.
So we started at the Moncton Reservoir with Heather. Now we've moved to a reservoir in Riverview with Heather, and you're going to tell us what's significant about this place.
Right. So this is Mill Creek Nature Park. So as the shine shows, this is in Riverview, and this beautiful park is a 330-acre nature park. So this park is just under development. So they have several new trails that are in place, and they have a new spillway that you'll see, where they have a walkway that comes out on the spillway so that you can see what views it has from a higher standpoint. And this area actually had a drinking water supply as well as Irishtown, and it was used by the Army. So the Army actually trained here and used this property, this 330-acre property, to train and use the water body as a source of drinking water when they had their post here.
Oh, wow. I did not realize it had a connection to the Army here.
It did. And then it went surplus, and the town of Riverview purchased it quite a few years ago, didn't know really what to do with the area, and started with a community group, just like Irishtown did, and brought in different experts and trees and different things, which we did an original sort of walkthrough cruise of the property to see what was here and what could be, I guess, developed for Riverview. So it's been in the books for a while, but now it's starting to get developed more and more, which is lovely. So we're going to do a little exploration of Mill Creek, and we'll look a little bit more about the history and how the park is a little bit different than some other parks locally.
Great. Let's get walking.
All right, perfect. So you can see the difference in the reservoir here is that the fish can come upstream to the bottom of the spillway, I guess it's called, and that's as far as they can go, because it doesn't have the access for fish to go any farther upstream. So the fish will be, basically going up and coming back and using this area as their habitat.
Hello from the beautiful Slacks Cove. I'm Jenna Morton.
And I'm Tosh Taylor. And on today's episode, we're going to be chatting about this magnificent place with the
So beautiful.
magnificent Heather Fraser. Hello.
Hello, how are you guys today?
Oh, absolutely fabulous. You have brought us to an amazing place for sure.
Absolutely.
For those who are watching and listening, describe a little bit about where exactly we are in Slacks Cove.
Okay, so we're at the very end of Slacks Cove Road, and basically when you get here, you're here. So when you arrive at the top, this is the beauty that you have. If you are to turn around, you can see the Cumberland Basin, which is the uppermost portion of the Bay of Fundy. So we're basically in a little cove, they call it, and I guess that's how it's got its name, Slacks Cove. But from what I understand is because of its location, there was a lot of boats coming in. There was a lot of boats carrying precious goods. And so there probably was a lot of stories about fortunes lost and won in this cove, which is kind of exciting.
Now you're going to find us on the beaches of Johnson Mills. I'm Tosh Taylor.
I'm Jenna Morton, and with us today we have Jordan Mills with the Nature Conservancy of Canada. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming in to join us today. You're here to tell us a little bit about this amazing place of Johnson's Mills. Take it away.
Here in Johnson's Mills, we're in the upper bay of Fundy, so kind of the Shepparton Bay area. And what's super significant about this specific site is that every summer, between July and August, we get a massive influx of shorebirds. So they come here on a stopover on their way to South America as part of their annual migration. So we're really lucky to be here and get to see them stop over to feed on our mudflats here. So it's a really significant area for shorebirds. We get about 30% of the world's semi-palmated sandpipers, among other species of shorebirds. So it's a pretty spectacular place.
Our next stop on this tour brings us to Fort Beauséjour. I'm Jenna Morton.
And I'm Tosh Taylor, and you'll find us back again with Heather Fraser. Welcome, Heather.
Good day, good day. Where are we now?
We are in one of the windiest spots in New Brunswick, I'm pretty sure. Very near the Nova Scotia border, which is close to my heart. So I'm quite happy right now. So we are at the Parks Canada site, Fort Beauséjour. Some people still may call it Fort Cumberland.
Oh.
If you come on a school trip, you'll learn all the history as to why. You can come as a parent chaperone. They will tell you all about why it has two names.
That's very interesting. But we're going to learn why it's an amazing place. So, Heather, how about you take that away?
So part of the Fundy Biosphere Amazing Place program brings you to many sites from all the way from Sackville, New Brunswick, which is where we are very close to now, to St. Martin's. So there's a big area to explore amazing places. But this one really is that connector that we call the Chignecto Isthmus, which is on the other side of this cool wall that we're standing in front of right now. And that is the connector piece of land that brings us between Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. And it really is an agriculture land that was diked way back in the early 1800s. They even had the vision back then that it was really important farmland. So they diked it to keep the water going out to the water source that of course we know is tidal, but to also give that area an opportunity for animals to be able to breed and forage and use that land as productive forest land, agriculture land, I mean.
And now you've caught us on our last stop of today's episode. We are at the Sackville Waterfowl Marsh. I'm Tosh Taylor.
I'm Jenna Morton, and again we have with us Heather Fraser.
Welcome to Sackville Waterfowl Park.
Thank you.
So what's really cool about this park, it's a 55-acre award-winning park. It has about 160 different species of ducks throughout the season. So once it unthaws in the spring up until it freezes in November, there's about 160 different species of ducks and birds that frequent this beautiful marsh. The other interesting thing is they've done research and some botany studies, and there's over 200 plants, which is kind of what I enjoy, is knowing what kind of plants are next door. So that's kind of cool in this marsh. And one thing you might not know, there's a 3.5 kilometer trail that actually runs around this entire wetland. And it actually, on the other side of the road next to the Tantramar School, is part of the Trans-Canada Trail that you can actually walk or bike. And the Tantramar School as well, the high school, has a wetland program. So grades 4, 5, and 6 can actually come from Moncton and surrounding areas and take their wetland program that utilizes all the research and info that they have here in the Waterfowl Park. So it's a wonderful educational opportunity right across the road.
Today we've found ourselves just outside of St. Martin's. We're at Quaco Head. Joining us today we've got Heather Fraser. Heather, thanks for joining us.
Oh, pleasure to be here on this windy day.
It is windy. It is windy. I would love it if you would give us some more information about this amazing location.
So this is number 1 on our amazing places within the UNESCO designated Fundy Biosphere Reserve. And this is Quaco Head Lighthouse. So from what I understand, the original lighthouse was built in 1855, and it was actually over on the little island that we see that's submerged, or actually emerged right now because the tide is low. And they moved it over here in 1966. So all lighthouses, if you notice, are always on a point where it's high up. The visibility is beautiful. You can see basically from one side to the other because, again, remember there were ships coming in and out of this coast. If you look across the way, you'll see an island. It's called Isle Haute, and it's actually part of Nova Scotia. It's next to the Chignecto Isthmus, and it actually is part of the coastline of the Upper Bay of Fundy as well. So the beauty of this spot really is that it's showcasing St. Martin's beaches, showcasing the beauty of the Upper Bay of Fundy when we have those tides coming up and going down twice a day. It's a beautiful spot.
I think it's safe to say that probably one of the most photographed, iconic, recognizable spots of the amazing places is where we are right now at the St. Martin's Sea Caves. Do you think I'm right there, Heather?
I think you are absolutely correct.
It's absolutely phenomenal. If you've ever seen any tourism literature about New Brunswick, you've probably seen this image as well as the Hopewell Rocks. Let's talk a little bit about what the Sea Caves are and what people need to know about coming here to visit, because this is one where you do really need to plan ahead.
Yes, and for this one specifically, it really is about the tides. And anything that you know and have heard about the Bay of Fundy, it really is the highest tides in the world. And one thing that I learned about this is that all the water from other streams coming out of oceans does not equal what comes out of the Bay of Fundy around the world every day. So when you think of that amount of water, and with water has a lot of force. So one thing that they always recommend here is that you pay very close attention to the tides, and of course come when the tides are out, because that's the beauty of being able to go inside the caves, which when you kayak or canoe here, you're canoeing and kayaking at a high tide. So you're actually not seeing the caves that you see when the tide is out. So that's the beauty of coming this time.
Heather, we have made it to Fuller Falls along the Fundy Trail Parkway. We're now inside the Parkway Trail system. Can you tell us what makes Fuller Falls an amazing place?
Well, if we look to our right, we'll be able to see the falls. This is a 35-foot falls. And for us, we just talked about the fact that we were here many times last year. I was here in October. Jenna was here in July. The falls water that's coming from the streams that's feeding this falls is very low. So the actual water coming over the falls is quite a bit less than it was when I was out here in October, but it's totally fed by brooks that run through Fundy Park and find their way to low spots that of course are going to make their way to the ocean, to the Upper Bay of Fundy.
We are now at one of the other most popular spots along the Fundy Parkway Trail system. I think this is one that a lot of people, again, if you haven't been here in person, you have likely seen photos. We are near the interpretive center for Salmon River.
Big Salmon River.
The Big Salmon River. So Heather, tell us a little bit about the significance of this as an amazing place.
So this is an amazing place because it has historic value and historic interest. And for me specifically, I love this spot because it is about the trees. It's about the economy. It's about fish and timber, is how it got salt and fur, if you know that the programs that is put on in Fundy National Park. And if you look to the landscape here, it's a diversity of hardwoods and softwoods. So of course the softwoods are the trees that would have been harvested over 100, 150 years ago. And the river, the significance of the river is that they would have, it's called driving the logs down the river to get to the spot where they were going to be milled, which there was a little mill here, but the biggest one that is most popular and most people know about is the one at Point Wolf, because it was before it would go to the huge lumber yard. But the logs would have been, they call it log driving down the river. So this river today, looking at this river today, very, very low. Of course, they would do that in the spring when the water levels are coming up after the snow. They would cut the trees in the winter so that it's least impact on the forest soil, and then they would move those logs when we had lots of runoff, which, wow, how things have changed over 100 or 150 years.
We've made it to our final stop of the day today. Heather, we're at Long Beach. Tell us why Long Beach makes it an amazing place.
Let me tell you, it's because throughout the Fundy Trail Parkway there are many beaches that you can stop and explore through a trail system, through a waterfall system, but this one is actually the longest one that you can walk and explore. And also one thing that's interesting is the point of the bay where the water comes in every 12 hours. It comes in through the bay and comes to the point, which is just right here, and then back out every 12 hours. So it's significant because of the location of where Long Beach is, the fact that it is longer than any other beach, and the fact that this is where the water comes in and then recedes back out to the Bay of Fundy.
Welcome back to another Fundy Biosphere Region podcast. I'm Tosh Taylor and I am with Naomi Mead. Naomi is with the Fundy Biosphere Region. Welcome.
Hi.
So you and I are on location today at the Mary's Point Bird Sanctuary. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. So Mary's Point is part of the Sheppey Bay National Wildlife Area. So this is an area that has been recognized for its biodiversity, and it is particularly because this is a place that a lot of shorebirds come during their migration. So that's the main feature that most people come here for, and that is because of the long expanse of mudflats that we have here.
So now you'll find us on the ocean floor, and this is obviously one of the most popular, amazing places with the Fundy Biosphere Region.
Yeah, arguably this would be the most popular sightseeing spot in New Brunswick, actually, not just Fundy Biosphere Region. It's so famous for the image of New Brunswick that it's actually on our Medicare cards.
That's right. And for good reason too.
Yes, just looking at this is absolutely spectacular. But for anyone who's listening or who doesn't understand where we are, what the significance of the Hopewell Rocks, give us just the little snippet, quick explanation of this space.
Okay, so we are, again, on the Bay of Fundy, and this is along Hopewell Cape. So it's a point that sticks out into the Bay of Fundy, and so it gets a lot of the erosion activity that the tides produce against these cliffs. So these are conglomerate cliffs, and there is a lot of geology history that you can see in the layers that we see along the rocks. And with the tides coming up to that 40-50 foot range, the erosion only happens on the lower part of these cliffs. So over time, the erosion would carve out and carve out and carve out these formations along these cliffs. And depending on where you are on the cliff, it might get in behind some area. And then that's how you get these freestanding formations that are known as the flower pot rocks.
So we've made our way down to the shoreline to this beautiful observation deck here at Mary's Point. Tell us a little bit more in detail about the types of birds that people come here to see and what we need to know to be respectful of the space when we come visit.
Okay, so as I was saying on our way down here, the main poster child for these birds is the sandpipers. There are a few different species of sandpipers. The one that people most commonly know would be the semi-palmated sandpiper, which gets its name because of the little bit of webbing between its toes. There are other types of sandpipers as well. There are a couple different species of plovers, and there's a semi-palmated plover as well. And there are other ones that would be a bit larger than those ones. There's the dowitchers, there's yellowlegs. There's many species of shorebirds that you would see, but the sandpipers kind of are the ones that people know about the most.
Hello and welcome to another episode of our Fundy Biosphere Amazing Places podcast. I'm Jenna Morton.
And I'm Tosh Taylor, and today you will find us at one of my favorite places in Albert County. We are at the Crooked Creek Lookout, and it is stunning all year round. But in the fall, it really puts a name to its amazing place stamp. We are joined again with Naomi Mead from the Fundy Biosphere Region. Thanks for coming.
Hey, thank you very much.
So we will talk a little bit about the area, because for some people they may not know that this beautiful place exists right inside of Riverside, Albert.
To be fair, I knew it existed. This is my first visit. This is incredible.
Yeah, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
Yes. So this has been highlighted as yet another amazing place with Fundy Biosphere Region, for the most part because of this amazing lookout. So what we see behind us is the Caledonia Gorge, And at the bottom of the gorge is the river, and there's falls and so on. And like you said, in the fall, the colors of particularly the maples, the hardwoods, would make a very wonderful display. And this is a perfect place to see that Wabanaki Acadian forest that is classic for this area, this region. That would be, so that's the indigenous name for the forest of this area.
Thank you so much for joining us for this special episode where we were showcasing some of the amazing places. You can learn more about these in our entire podcast dedicated to the Fundy Biosphere. Tell them where they can find that, Tosh.
They can head on over to fundybiosphereregion.ca, or you can check it out anywhere you listen to podcasts. See you next time.